basic framework was, Ed, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Be really careful. Don't go all print. Don't go all SEO. Don't go all X, Y, and Z. So I'll give you my snapshot. Print is good. Print is good. LinkedIn is invaluable. But LinkedIn, with no LinkedIn recommendations from clients, is less impactful. You can say whatever you want, but as of last week, I have 207 LinkedIn recommendations. I have well over 500 documented, 207 on LinkedIn. I mean, sometimes I have people call up and they say, hey, Ed, when can we get started? I said, well, I don't even know who you are. Well, I read your recommendations on LinkedIn. That's all I need to know. How much do you charge? Let's go. And I have to slow it down, actually. It's pretty crazy, right?
Welcome to Career Coaching Secrets, the podcast where we talk with successful career coaches on how they built their success and the hard lessons they learned along the way. My name is Davis Nguyen, and I'm the founder of Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to 7 and 8 figures without burning out. Before Purple Circle, I started and scaled several 7 and 8 figure career coaching businesses myself and consulted with 2 career coaching businesses that are now doing over $100 million each. Whether you're an established coach or just building your practice for the first time, you'll discover the secrets to elevating your coaching business.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Career Coaching Secrets podcast. I'm your host, Rajan, and today we're joined by Ed Samuel. Ed is a career coach and a trusted voice for job seekers across the US and beyond. Ed brings decades of experience as transformation coach, a resume writer, a LinkedIn strategist, and job search expert with a deep focus on career pivots, beating ageism, and job search strategy. As the founder of SamNova, Ed and his team has supported over 1,000 clients through one-on-one coaching, resume building, and strategic networking. He's also led more than 350 executive forums, coached across industries, and is known for his masterful interview prep and faith-infused approach to leadership and life. From his roots in global operations and recruiting to now being a sought-after public speaker and career thought leader with over 28,000 followers on LinkedIn, Ed blends real-world wisdom with a mission-driven heart. And it's a pleasure for me to have him on the podcast today. Welcome to the show, Ed.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me.
It's a pleasure for us. So I wanted to better understand, how did this all get started? What inspired you to become a coach, then start your own coaching business?
Well, it's really interesting. I had a 28-year corporate career that was a bit balanced between finance, operations, human resources. And when I got laid off for the very first time, I was about 45, and it kind of hit me like a rock. And I remember at that point in time, I came home and I said, this is my last day. What am I going to do? And I took a couple months off and really thought it through. And up to that point in my career, I couldn't really tell you what my purpose was, because I liked a lot of things, loved working with different organizations and people, but there was no drive for me. I ended up taking an assessment, and in that assessment, what came out the other side was maybe it didn't make sense for me to go back to corporate America. Maybe it made sense for me to do something different. And what ultimately happened is I did walk away from corporate America, and it's a longer story, but I end up getting involved with recruiting. And then I dove into recruiting head first and did incredibly well. And this was probably like 2008. And loved recruiting, but there was something bothering me about recruiting. Recruiting is one of these worlds where you can make a lot of money. So don't get me wrong, it's a great practice. A lot of people do it. But what was happening was that 97%, 98% of the people that came to me, I couldn't help them. And they said, but Ed, I know you can help me. I know you can help me. And it drove me crazy that most of the people I would never be able to help because I was a recruiter. Eventually what happened was I said, well, maybe all this experience that I have and all these jobs, and I've held 38 different positions in corporate America, 38 different roles. And that gives me a perspective. And my last role was a CFO, by the way, in South Carolina. Then I said, well, if I want to help people, and now I know this world of recruiting, maybe what I need to do is break away and create a practice where I can actually coach people. And coaching people begins with resume and all the things we're leading right up to helping people land that job. So that was kind of how I went about it. And I actually found my purpose. But up till the age of 45, I couldn't tell you my purpose other than making money for my family, but not a career, something that I jump out of bed doing. And now 16 years later, I promise you, I jump out of bed every morning. I can't wait to get to the office to talk to people, talk to new people, help people get to a better place. So that's kind of how it all kind of transfolded. And that assessment was key. And it's key to what we do today, even for my practice.
And so it's been, like you mentioned, 16 years of you running your own coaching business, right? Which part of your coaching journey do you find the most rewarding since you started doing this?
Well, a lot of people come to me when things are really tough, or, hey, Ed, I don't need you. And then 2 weeks later, hey, Ed, I got let go. Didn't see it coming. It's like a sledgehammer. But a lot of people come and they're in distress. They're upset. And one of the things that I love about coaching is that, I want to give people back. I want to re-energize people. I want to give people hope. I want to make sure that the last boss they worked for, the last company they worked for, and maybe it went south, maybe they did something bad, but it doesn't define a person's entire lifetime, their entire world in business. It doesn't define their success and their value that moment in time. Everything that they've done up to that point has been valuable. That's why people have been paying them. So giving people hope, giving them confidence, re-energizing them, keeping them on point to get back up and go after the fight. Those are things that I love to do. And I love to see when we just do a resume with a client. I've gotten hundreds of feedbacks from clients saying, hey, just doing the resume rebuilt my confidence. I didn't know I was that darn good. So that's a bit, and of course, helping people get to a better place. Many people come to us. I don't know what I want to do, Ed. I have no idea. Well, we help them get that clarity around that, and we help them get there. We help people who work in horrible situations for bosses. You would think that they live on the side of evil. Some of these stories I hear, I love to get people out of abusive work environments who are working, get them out into a favorable work environment with a great boss, a great company, a great future. We love those clients. So when I help people when we help people get to a better place, that's kind of what excites me. And of course, when people land a job, and many times people come to us and they're undervalued. They're undervalued in the marketplace. Well, I've been with this company 10 years and everything's going well, but then they work with us and they say, well, you should be making 25% more money because the company has kind of kept you down. They loved you, but they kept you down. You outgrew your value within the company you work for. So when we work with clients and we help them get to a better place and financially they're doing much better, those are the things that excite me. Those are the things that I love about coaching.
And we did mention in the intro that there are multiple industries, right? You're not limited by a certain industry. So where I want to get at is in terms of like the target audience and the people that you serve, who are these people or what is the target audience and what transformation do you help them achieve? Obviously, getting a job is one of them.
Well, we help people across the U.S. It's been interesting. If you asked me 10 years ago, more than 50% of our people were in job transition, maybe 60%, 70%. Today, in our practice, 75% are working who call us up. In other words, they're employed, but I want to get to a better place. Hey, Ed, there might be something going on here, and I'm employed. I want to be ready. Hey, Ed, new boss came in. Looks like, he or she is a cost cutter. Hey, Ed, the company was just acquired. I'm nervous. Hey, Ed, they're going to let me go in 6 months. So the majority of the people who call us are employed. 25% are in job transition. They're unemployed and they need our help. So we help those two groups of people. The other thing that we might be based out of Philadelphia area. We're about an hour west of Philadelphia, but we do help people all across the U.S. In fact, 78% of our clients are across the U.S. And we occasionally will have 2 or 3 people at a time outside of the U.S. that we help. In terms of industries, we are touched just about every industry you can imagine, from IT, finance and accounting, really in marketing. But in terms of an industry focus, the chemical industry, building products, IT, and the types of roles, we've done everything from C-level down. the place that, and we've played a little bit at the state level. We really don't play at the federal government level. But beyond that, we've touched just about every industry and every position. Now, when I started out, our sweet spot was people who make 175,000 to 500,000, and that today it's about 60% of who we really service help. The reason it's not higher is because when you get 1,000 clients, if you get close, you get over 1,000 clients, you end up getting referrals.
Mm-hmm.
So from the very clients you supported. So when I have a client from 10 years ago who says, hey, my son or daughter needs help, they're 25, I don't say no to that. So we end up helping so many people below 175, right up to a college grad. It's been pretty wild, and we love to do it. So I'm not the career coach who says, okay, I'm only going to work with C-level people making $500,000 a year. I'm not that person. In fact, I probably would not enjoy it as much. Would I make more money? Absolutely. But so we do have a kind of a target, between 175 and, the 500,000. And occasionally we'll work with people at 750, a million. Even the highest has been 2 million. But, that's been the sweet spot. And the whole time it goes back to what I mentioned a little bit earlier. Some people come to us at this entire spectrum, even college students, college grads, and people who have, got laid off at 60. We have a whole spectrum, and I don't know what I want to do next. And then we put them through one of our career assessments, 550 questions. It's called Career Direct, and I lead a extended team of that have been 29 people that have been trained to date. It's pretty amazing. They're all across the U.S., 2 people in Africa, and we've done about 1,300 of those assessments and consultations to date. But that's to help people get clarity. So we don't do resumes, for example, for someone who doesn't know where they want to go. We'll let other resume writers do that. I don't want to do that. We only want to help people because they know where they want to go. And then once they know where they want to go, then the question is, okay, how do we help people get there? And there's a number of things that we do, from resume to LinkedIn to strategies to networking, right on up to job offer negotiation. So yeah, and everybody's different. Everybody might want to. Somebody wants to say, "Hey Ed, I want to get to a managerial level. Hey Ed, I want to get more money. Hey Ed, I just want to get out of this really nasty, hateful place and get to a better culture." So everybody comes at us differently, and of course, we get some people who, and it's unfortunate, especially when it's a female, comes to us and say, "Hey, I'm getting divorced and I have 3 kids. The onus is on me. I need a job, Ed. Help me." That happens way too much, and by the way, you mentioned faith. Faith is a big part of what we do too. So I will not exclude that the fact that we do pray for our clients. I have a pretty long prayer list, and it's a big part of what we do. I'm a big believer of faith and work. And for those clients of faith, we talk about it. Trust me. And it helps me, but as a coach, but certainly helps them. And I've seen some amazing things happen over the years because of it. So, and if that makes us a little bit different, so be it. But everyone's welcomed to our practice. I don't care what walk they are in their life. So yeah, so that's kind of who we focus on. We're trying to get people to a better place, whether they're working or whether they're in job transition. We accept all, we have a complimentary 25-minute call before we take clients on. It's really important that there's a good fit. That's kind of what we do.
Thank you. Thank you, Ed. Thank you for explaining that. And as you were explaining that, and you were talking about, obviously, after doing 1,000 clients, you start to see many referrals come in, which I believe could be referrals of clients that had success, but could also be repeating clients, right? Do you see also repeating clients that are just like eventually changing in another job or doing another pivot?
Well, I have clients from, 10 years ago. Hey, Ed, I just got let go. 5 years ago, Ed, the company was bought. I had a client a few years back. We worked really hard. He did everything I had asked him to do, and boom, he lands the job. And this is a pretty well-known company. If I said the name, you'd say, wow, he got let go 9 months later, restructured. And then he came back with another client again, right? So yeah, you have clients come and go, up and down. And that's pretty cool when that happens, because they already know me and I'd love to help them. Some of my clients, there's, a certain percentage of my clients, once they land a job, they also ask me to be their executive coach. And I love doing that as well because then it keeps me connected with the client and I help them just in a different capacity. But I don't do as much executive coaching as others, but something that I love to do.
And since we are at like referrals and we're getting into marketing, apart from referrals, what other marketing channels are working well for you in terms of like people finding you or you finding them?
Great question. I had a really good call the person coach mentor who really gave me a really good perspective in terms of marketing a business. And the basic framework was, Ed, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Be really careful. Don't go all print. Don't go all SEO. Don't go all X, Y, and Z. So I'll give you my snapshot. Print is good. Print is good. LinkedIn is invaluable. But LinkedIn, with no LinkedIn recommendations from clients, is less impactful. You can say whatever you want, but you know, as of last week, I have 207 LinkedIn recommendations. I have well over 500 documented, 207 on LinkedIn. I mean, sometimes I have people call up and they say, hey, Ed, when can we get started? I said, well, I don't even know who you are. Well, I read your recommendations on LinkedIn. That's all I need to know. How much do you charge? Let's go. And I have to slow it down, actually. It's pretty crazy, right? But if you're a career coach and you only have 5 recommendations, I'm just saying I think that hurts you. So that's pretty important. I'm going to get another one or two next week. But here's the other thing. Speaking is big. I speak on 20 different topics plus. I was speaking in the last 5 years, at least once a week nationally. Hosting a podcast or a program. I've done that for a long time. I was on the radio in Philadelphia for 6 years, Saturday mornings. Those are all things I actually, and it's okay to experiment. I've experimented with a few things. In Texas, of all things, I was in like Planet Fitness, on the screen up top, that type of thing. And then the ads come up. I actually was in, I think, 5 fitness clubs in Texas and 2 or 3 in Boston with my name coming up, and we got phone calls from it. But you got to be careful because that works and sometimes it doesn't work. So you have to experiment. But that's just another vehicle of marketing that we've done. We do organic marketing. I'm not a fan of buying the third-party application and plugging it on the LinkedIn and having computer messages go out. Ours is really brutal. We do it every day, brutal. First name, we look at their profiles, we think about it, we type a message in, we send it out, we pray about it. If it's right, the clients will come to us. That's hard marketing. I don't believe in, and I don't do what's called drip marketing. I hate drip marketing. Sorry, guys. You marketing gurus out there who love drip marketing. I hate it. I think it's incredibly unauthentic. So that's something we don't do. Leading executive networking forums virtually and in person. That's another thing that we do. So I wrote a book. I'm writing my second book. That's another thing that you need to do. And if you have something to say, write a book. I'll talk about that later, perhaps. Be visible in the chamber, your local chamber. Just don't be the big U.S. person. And you could go local as well. The more people you know. And by the way, LinkedIn posts are good too. Put your LinkedIn posts out there once a week. But sometimes you have to be careful because then if you're only doing LinkedIn posts and that's the only thing that you do, and you do none of the other things I talked about, you don't have that balance. So maybe some people aren't as extreme as me in terms of doing that many things across the spectrum. But for me, that seems to work well for us. And we typically get phone calls every day, every other day, people wanting to talk to us.
So there's a lot of these, by the way. You have many baskets. So basically, podcast, speaking, LinkedIn, that was very creative, by the way. The ad on the gym, I haven't heard of that before. That is very creative. Then LinkedIn manual outreach, even better than automatic outreach, I would say, since you're basically doing kind of like a sniper approach. You're actually paying attention to these people, you're looking at their profiles. So it's way better than like the automated one, and the automated one sometimes it might not work well. And books, like having your book, definitely a good one. And you also mentioned LinkedIn recommendations. So for LinkedIn recommendations, have you figured out a system where you are asking the clients to do that, or how does that work?
Sometimes you get them unsolicited. Sometimes you ask when the client ends up landing a job, you ask, but I don't pressure anybody. I make an ask because what happens for most people, once they land the job, it's like, jumping off the cliff into the whole new world. And it's like, Ed, who, what was Ed's name? Because if you don't get it fairly early on, you won't get, and then some people are reluctant to do it. And there are some people who, won't give me a LinkedIn recommendation, but wow, will they talk about it publicly to people, right? And so, yeah, so there's no magic to it other than, if you don't ask, you don't worry about getting one because you probably won't get one, but ultimately don't pressure people, as well. One other huge thing that we do, we're in over 70 Facebook groups, 70. And twice a month we push, and we've gotten a lot of clients because of that. So that's another form that you want to kind of balance out. And there are some other things, but I'm trying to give you the big ones.
Which would you say is like the biggest out of all of these that is actually getting you the most qualified leads into your funnel?
Facebook is picking up. Certainly, referrals, just simple referrals. Every 2 or 3 days, someone will call up, "Hey, Ed, I heard about you through X person," right? So referrals, you can't beat referrals, but you can only get referrals if you have a lot of clients and you're doing really good work, because that's why you get them. But, here's another one where I've gotten, extreme high referrals is when you do speaking. When you speak, I just can't tell you. I'm going to be in Princeton, New Jersey, in I think July 15th or 18th. I think it's a Friday. I'm going to be speaking about the importance of quantification on a resume. And I'll be introducing some AI tools that people could use that could really help in that whole process. But, I devoted a chapter in my book just to quantification. But, this is a topic where I speak for an hour and a half. That's how important it is to be able to translate people's efforts in business to value. Value is only understood based on something that gets quantified. If it's not quantified, it's just an activity, and that activity has no value. So there's a case where if I go there and I talk, I might have 2 or 3 people give me a shout that I've never met, 3 weeks later, "Hey, can we talk?" So speaking is incredibly important. So the more people speak, the more people know about you. And the more people know about you, they call us up. So that's another one that's on a pretty high list.
Do you also utilize SEO? Or is that
Yeah,
not? Oh, it is. Okay.
we invested more money in SEO in the last 2 years than any other thing that we've done. Now, maybe I was foolish in doing it. Maybe I should have paid half the amount of money, but I spent a great deal of money and it seemed to work. We seem to get a lot more traction, more people calling, more people seeing. I have name recognition. If anybody goes to Google, or just go to Google, type in Ed Samuel career coach, see what happens, see who comes up. You'll be surprised, right? Just Ed Samuel dash career coach. Forget about LinkedIn. Just put Ed Samuel dash career coach.
Yeah, it's
So
all
I
real.
have recognition on a name basis. SamNova, our company, SAMNOVA. We have recognition based on the company name. So we worked really, really hard to get on the first page of Google. If you type in reverse recruiting, you'll see us on the first page. So there are things that we've invested a great deal of money, and then people call us up, "Hey, I found you on Google." One thing that's been interesting, everything that we've done up to this point, we've paid $0 in Google ads. I'm just letting you know. And there are and there are marketing people that come at me all the time. "Hey, Ed, let's spend $5,000 and we'll get you clients." Well, I haven't had to do that. But I think people who do that don't want to put the effort into all the other things I'm talking about. So I like that balance, and we haven't put a lot of money out at all in Google ads. We put a little bit into Facebook.
And it was Facebook ads, right?
Yeah, and that really didn't materialize too much. But
Mm-hmm.
being in Facebook, 70 different Facebook groups, wow, way better than spending money on Facebook ads.
Really? Amazing.
Way better. You can't even compare it. Can't even compare it.
And since we're talking about that, when it comes to like these groups, since most of the time you're not allowed to promote yourself, so what is your approach for anyone who's interested in maybe trying that pathway?
Well, you have to be careful. There's a lot of groups out there, and you have to read the group rules. So if the group rules say no promotion, well, don't join the group, or don't promote, because you get kicked out. There are a
Mm-hmm.
lot of groups that will allow you to do self promotion only on Fridays. Sometimes, If it's a clear sky on Tuesday, you can promote. If it's not, don't promote. So there are very specific rules. Many groups will allow you to promote twice a month. I did some math on this, and we've determined that based on the groups that we're in, on a monthly basis, we save about $7,000 of advertising that we get for free. And then I talk to other people. I don't need Facebook. I'm on Instagram. Well, great. Well, be on Instagram. Hey, I don't get involved with Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn. Okay, great. Stay on LinkedIn. I'm just saying it's like a gift given to so many people, but you got to follow the rules.
And since there's so many channels, how do you handle all of that? Do you have like I can imagine there has to be a team.
Yeah, I mean, I have a team of people, but after you set up a system and a process, I have a person who does reach outs twice a month, right? I help a little bit, and they do the bulk of the work. I have people that are doing reach outs every day, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have people who scheduling me, to talk, right? And so everything just has to be balanced out. And some things we do a little bit more of, some things we'll do a little bit less of, depending how busy we are.
Do you also have other coaches, or do you do all the coaching yourself now?
Thank goodness. One of my, when I started out, I was like, I did everything. I
Mm-hmm.
was the entire band, the drummer, the guitar player, the singer. And it's fun for a little while, but you're never going to scale a business that way. So when I gave up writing resumes and hired a couple people to help me, I've had one, two, three, four. Now I've had up to four resume writers, but now one of the things I also learned is you really want to bring people on who have a heart to help people, who are willing to learn from me and do exactly what our standard requires. So I don't bring resume writers on to do freelance work and do whatever the heck they want. We have a pretty tight standard. If you bought my book and read it, that's the standard that we use. Make no mistake about it. And we're into value. We're into effectiveness. I'm not into pretty resumes, AI resumes that have no bearing in reality. Our average time on a resume, just as an example, will be 6 hours with the client. Right. So if you want, we don't edit resumes. We let other resume writers edit resumes. We don't edit resumes at all. We revamp resumes to our standard that has led to a lot of success. That's something that is pretty important to us.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing all of that. And what about like looking into the future? What are some goals right now with your coaching business that you're working towards for the next, let's say, 1 to 3 years?
Well, I mentioned a second book. In fact, there's probably be a couple of books, but one of them is going to be on the do's and don'ts of networking. It's really important. In fact, just in the last year and a half, my most sought out talk has been networking gone wrong. And networking is a good thing when it comes to career coaching. But networking, I always say networking is like everybody wants to put it in a big pot, stir it around, dump it out, and say networking is all good. It's all good. And I beg to differ. You have to be smart when it comes to networking. And there's fundamentals that don't get done, and there's things that mistakes that are made along the way. So that's the basis of my next book. Second thing that we're working on is a subscription business for us. So that's going to be something where pay a monthly fee and you're going to get a master series. You're going to get access to some amazing training tools alone that will be worth the cost of admission. You'll get me on some podcasts, and I'm going to balance our approach between those who are in job transition and those who are working. And I'm going to bring in some amazing people to talk. So there's going to be a lot in that subscription model. So that's something that we're working on to roll out. And I think, my goal is to have it out this year. Those are two big things that we're doing. And a few months ago, we launched a new series on YouTube called Career Trails. And it's a YouTube series. I want to continue to expand that. It's pretty unique. This is about me and people on my team actually in a different park somewhere in the U.S. where we meet people and we interview them in nothing's pre-planned about their careers, what's worked, what hasn't worked. So we've done maybe 15 episodes so far, and that's something we want to continue to expand. And none of it's scripted. It's just, it is what it is, so that people can learn. And I love doing that type of thing so that it doesn't become regimented, so to speak, or stale. It's just something always different. And that's something we're going to expand upon. So between the books, subscription is more than enough that's going to keep us busy in the next
Yeah,
couple of couple.
absolutely. And so the subscription model will be like a completely new offer apart from what you already have right now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And look, we're not inexpensive. So if you want cheap, we're a bad bet. But we're
Hmm.
also not the most expensive. I do know that, because a lot of the more expensive coaches I know, they're friends of mine. How they get paid, what they get paid, I don't know. But I try to charge a fee that feels right for me, where I can sleep good at night. But this is going to be different, because when somebody says, hey, I can't afford you, well, can you afford X dollars a month? And a lot of people could say yes to that and still get value. So that's important.
So I wanted to ask you, since you're definitely in a level where you've made a lot of investments, what have been good investments that you made that you've actually gotten a lot of return from?
Well, I hired a publicist, spent a lot of money on the publicist, but he's got me amazing interviews. I've been in AARP magazine 2 or 3 times. I've been in Newsweek, I believe. If you go to my website, you see a whole list of places I've been. I was interviewed Fox Business News. As a result of many things, I ended up being in the Wall Street Journal about 4 months ago. I mentioned in the first page article. So it's been a pretty neat investment, but you got to spend money to do it. And once you spend money, I have people calling me because they read something. They actually read the article in the Wall Street Journal. They're calling me, right? It's like, that's pretty cool when that happens. But publicists aren't cheap. They charge money, and many times a lot of things aren't guaranteed. So it's not like, hey, Ed, write this article. Okay, but it's never guaranteed it's going to get published, right? But you still have to pay the publicist, right? But anyway, that was something that we're taking a look at, kind of round two on the SEO marketing front,
How much
whether we
can
want to spend money.
how much can someone expect to pay if they want to be in Wall Street Journal?
Now, in that particular case, in that example, it wasn't through the publicist. It was this is kind of like, for me, it's like a God thing. Here I am speaking to a group, I believe in northern New Jersey, on a virtual call, 45, 50 people on the call. The person who writes for the Economist section of the Wall Street Journal heard about it. She actually joined the call, sat in, listened. Nobody knew who she was. She just joined the call. And then 2 days later, she called me up personally and said, hey, I heard you speak for an hour and a half. I want to interview you. That's how that happened. So a little bit different than the publicist, calling me up. But again, I want to be careful, because every publisher will charge a different fee and they have a different
Mhm.
structure. But all I would to tell you, it's not cheap.
Yeah, because I used to do a lot of work before in SEO, and I do remember that some of these big media platforms, you cannot even pay them. You have to be invited. You have to like even network. There's no way they
Oh,
don't sell that thing. So yeah, that's why I was asking for Wall Street Journal. I was like, yeah, that's a very powerful link from the SEO perspective. So yeah, interesting to see that previous work basically made that happen. And yeah, I also wanted to talk to you about challenges. So what is a challenge right now that you're trying to solve for next within the coaching business?
well, making sure AI doesn't go out of control, where they can just, hey, for $9.99, run this application and your resume's done, your cover letter's done, and you get to apply and everything's good. You have to be, that is going to get people in trouble. I'm just talking from a larger perspective. For me personally, it's going to be, you know, rolling out the subscription business. And you had asked me earlier, do I have other coaches? Yes, I have other coaches who come in to help and augment my practice when it comes to interview preparation.
Hmm.
That I've done, resume writing. So I'm peeling away some of the work that I do to other people, and that continues to occur. That's something that is on the drawing board for me to continue to do. But I think, I mentioned getting the book out is something very important to me. And then getting more paid speaking engagements is something important to me as well. That's a challenge, because up to now, up until recently, everything I've been doing has been kind of pro bono, kind of a free to fee model, if you will. I just finished talking to a college, a month and a half ago. That was a paid speaking engagement, which was really nice for a change. So that's something else I'm looking to tackle in terms of a challenge. And lastly, we have an opportunity to substantially grow our resume practice substantially. And I could only do that by bringing another resume writer on board. And knock on wood, I found a person incredibly talented, and he's doing incredibly well. So I have this opportunity to grow that side of the practice. So we have a lot going on.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing all of that. And yeah, hopefully looking forward to the book as well. Maybe when you get the book, I could invite you again to talk about it in the podcast. And the final question is, what advice would you give to other career coaches who are trying to scale their impact just as much as you have done?
So, one, don't be the jack of all trades. If that's your model, you'll never scale. It will never happen. That's number one. Number two, don't be afraid to rub shoulders with the competition. That was another fatal mistake for the first 5 years of my business. I just created my own island. It was horrible. As soon as I started rubbing shoulders with some of the best in the business, my business tripled, quadrupled. You couldn't even hold on to it. And it seems counterproductive. It just seems not intuitive, but it's not. Once you get to know people, most coaches are okay with sharing. Most coaches want to get along. And look, I'm not for everybody. Maybe another coach, they like them more. They charge less. Their model's different. So everybody brings something to the table. And most of the people that get hired, who hire us, I think it's relationship driven, maybe faith driven. I don't know what, drives it, but that would be something I certainly encourage. One thing I do encourage, though, if you have something to say, speak. You have something to say, put yourself out there. If you have clients that love you, put the client recommendation on LinkedIn. You're just doing yourself a grave injustice. I saw a coach the other day, how long have you been coaching? Well, 17 years. I went to their LinkedIn. They had 3 recommendations. I just scratching my head. I go, you must not want to grow. And if some people are doing this because they're retired, if some people are doing this because it's a hobby, they have a significant other that's making all the money and they're bobbing and weaving, that's different coaching, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you're trying to pay your mortgage and you're trying to scale for other reasons, then these are some things you can do that could, really, really help your cause. And certainly, one of the best advices that I got from a person who was the president of one of the most successful outplacement firms in the U.S., he looked at me one day after I gave a talk, and he looked right at me. He goes, "Ed, you got to write a book." And I had a great deal of respect for him. And I looked at him and I thought, and I went home that night, looked at my wife, and I said, I got to write a book, because if he told me to write a book, that means he sees something in me. And when I wrote that book, you bring credibility to your coaching, because what you're doing is you're sharing to a lot of people what
Mm-hmm.
works really, really well, and you're not holding on to it. And that book alone has just brought, hundreds of clients to us.
Yeah, it's big also, especially when you think about impact, because you're reaching to those people who could not pay the full program. They would get to get the book, read the book, get the knowledge from that. So yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for coming today. For anyone who wants to find you or reach out to you, they can go into LinkedIn, number one, search Ed Samuel. They will be able to find you. They can go into your website.
Yeah, so Sam, like Uncle Sam, SAM, Nova, like the star, NOVA,
Okay.
INC.com,
Now,
SamNova, INC.com.
now
But
I see it.
certainly just go to Google, type Ed Samuel, SAMUEL, career coach.
Absolutely. And they also could go look at your YouTube series, search your name there as well, might find the YouTube series. We'll also put that link into the description. Thank you so much for coming today. This was a lovely episode.
Yeah, no, thank you. I really appreciate you taking the time, Reg, and love to come back.
That's it for this episode of Career Coaching Secrets. If you enjoyed this conversation, you can subscribe to YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you're listening to this episode to catch future episodes. This conversation was brought to you by Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to 7 and 8 figures without burning out. To learn more about Purple Circle, our community, and how we can help you grow your business, visit joinpurplecircle.com.